What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we got some more fake news, folks, and I'm gonna just blast all of this right into outer space, debunk every single bit of it. Folks, like, these people are so insane with their manipulations because they'll write up this story, right, and then they'll give you the actual context. They'll give you the clip and then try to spin it in this direction. What I'm gonna do here, though, I'm going to tell you that this is a manipulation about to come down the pipeline. And then we're going to debunk it at the end. I got 2 clips to prove this to you guys. Let's get into this. I'm going to try to ram through this, and then we'll go over the clips and try to filter through everything and see what comes up. Check this out, y'all. Kristi Noem reveals she's above the law. Will decide for herself which judges and rulings are legitimate. Now, right there, that would make you think that she said something at least in close proximity to what that said, right? Right? Completely opposite, y'all. Completely opposite. Let's get into this. Kristi Noem believes the law doesn't apply to her. Last week, the Justice Department said in a court filing that Noem was fully aware of a judge's order blocking the highly questionable mass deportation of migrants to El Salvador, but chose to ignore it and didn't order the planes to turn around. Now, what's so fascinating about that is that, they are trying to pretend, once again, folks, and this has always been the story with the corporate press, they're trying to pretend that that judge's order came down the pipeline before the planes left the United States. Now, we all know, I've explained it several times, I even went and took to AI and asked AI if federal judges have authority over airplanes over another country's sovereign territory. And as a matter of fact, they don't. So, they are trying to pretend that the administration violated a court order. And they knew that they were violating court orders. But that's not true, folks, because, once again, the 2 airplanes in question were on final approach. They were in El Salvadorian airspace, as a matter of fact. So they're trying to pretend, oh, she knew the order came down the pipeline and didn't tell the planes to turn around. Well, no, of course not. They're over international waters. That's not a lawful order. Let's keep going. Without wanting to get all Civics 101, the rule of law and respecting the decisions of the judiciary are a crucial part of the system of checks and balances that the Founding Fathers laid down, and why the United States flourished where so many tin-pot republics floundered. But on an appearance on ABC News last night, Noem simply explained she has the right to pick and choose which judges she listens to based on what she thinks their politics are. And, to nobody's surprise, any judge who orders her to do something she disagrees with is a liberal activist judge she doesn't need to pay attention to. That's not what she said, as a matter of fact. That right there is a manipulation. Not only is it a manipulation in the broader context, but it's also a micro manipulation, and that's not what she said at all. She did call the judge an activist, but she didn't say that she gets to pick and choose which orders to obey. Didn't say that at all, but once again, like I said, we're going to prove all this outright. When asked about why she ignored the judge's order, Noem replied, "Yes, I made that decision, and that decision was under my complete authority. This is an activist judge, and I understand we're still in litigation with this activist judge who's continuously tried to stop us. We comply with all federal orders that are lawful and binding." Once again, when asked about why she ignored the judge's order, that's not what was asked, by the way. That was absolutely not the question asked. That was a totally different question, as a matter of fact, but we'll get into that. A very dangerous moment. Yeah, so here's the thing. You don't get to pick and choose which orders you think are lawful and binding. You can certainly disagree with them completely, but in that case, you can file an appeal and argue why it's not lawful in court. Yeah, but what about when a judge gives an order that everybody knows he does not have any authority over? That is not a lawful order. And once again, it's the same thing with what Democrats are doing. Say, you must refuse lawful orders. That's all she's doing. How do you like that, Democrats? How do you like that hypocrisy here, huh? You don't like that because it's not politically advantageous to you? Yeah, look, I'm sorry. A judge in the United States of America cannot order a plane, an aeroplane, in El Salvadorian airspace to turn around and come back. That is not how legal authority works. That's not how the judicial authority works. In the grand scale of all the horrible things the Trump administration has done, is doing, and will do, this may seem like small potatoes, but a senior member of the administration casually explaining to the public on national TV that the law no longer applies to them should terrify you. But that's not what she said. Once again, that's a lie, a blatant lie. I guess the silver lining is that her openly admitting to flouting a judge's order should mean a contempt case against her is an easy win. But then, even if Noem is found guilty of contempt of court, she'd be instantly pardoned by Trump. And that it's if it ever made it to court in the first place. That is right, folks. So let's kind of go back here in time for just a second, because let's see what this was. When asked about why she ignored the judge's order, Noem replied, "Well, let's play that clip, why don't we?"
Ask you before you go, as you know, a U.S. district judge has now reopened a contempt inquiry into the decision to fly those planes of Venezuelan immigrants, alleged gang members, to El Salvador after he ordered the planes to be turned around. In a DOJ filing, the Department of Justice says that you were the one that made that order. So I have two questions on that. First of all, is that right? Does the buck effectively stop with you on this? Was this your responsibility? And had you known that the judge had ordered those planes to be turned around when that order was issued?
Yes, I made that decision, and that decision was under my complete authority and following the law and the Constitution and the leadership of this president, who is dedicated to getting dangerous criminal terrorists and gangs and cartels out of our country. And I'm so grateful that we get the opportunity every day to do that and to make decisions that will keep America safe.
Did you know about the judge's order when you issued your order for the planes to continue?
Yeah, this is an activist judge, and I understand, we're still in litigation with this against this activist judge who's continuously tried to stop us from protecting the American people. We continue to win. His ridiculous claims are not in good standing with the law or the Constitution. We'll win this one as well, and we comply with all federal orders that are lawful and binding, and we will continue to do that. But I'm proud of the decisions that I've made, proud to work for this president each and every day to keep America safe.
Okay, so if you notice right there, she answered that first question. Did you give this order? Yes. As a matter of fact, she did, because she ordered the planes to send these people to El Salvador. Then the judge's order later came down the pipeline. Now, if you noticed, she actually expertly dodged that second question. I'm not going to lie about it. Look, I'm not going to pull no punches with the Trump administration. When they do something, they mess up, they mess up. That was a mess up. She completely dodged that question, right? She started rambling on about activist judge and all this other nonsense. But at no time did she say that, well, the law is me, it's mine. I decide what orders we're going to follow. No, she knows that judge had no authority to order that plane to turn around, especially when it's not over United States airspace. If that plane would have been still within the United States, that would have been a lawful order, and she would be violating court orders by doing so. But that airplane was not. It wasn't even in international waters. It was over sovereign territory of El Salvador, for crying out loud. And these people want to manipulate that, like saying, well, she just blatantly and openly said she decides what orders are lawful. As a matter of fact, in case you're uninitiated on this whole story, that case right there in particular, now I'm not sure why they greenlit Boasberg to go ahead and run with his contempt proceedings, because the Supreme Court found that case in particular, and this was the plane that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was on, and you guys know all about the flippant crap that was going on with that. But anyway, the Supreme Court said that case should never have been brought to that district in the first place. They removed that case from that judge. They completely pulled that case and put it in the district where it was supposed to be, down in Texas. So why, tell me, somebody please tell me why they still greenlit Boasberg to go ahead and run contempt proceedings? That's interesting. And once again, once you learn that that plane was over another sovereign country's territory, yeah, we all understand that that judge has no authority when that plane leaves United States airspace. That judge has no more authority over that plane. I don't care if it's a U.S. military plane, what it is. It's over international waters or a sovereign country's territory, right? Either one. The judge has no authority to bring any orders. But we've got another clip where they're trying to spin it, and she gives a little bit different of an answer. So once again, is she going to say that she's going to openly defy court orders? Let's figure that out for ourselves.
In a filing in federal court this week, the Justice Department said that when the administration was ordered back in March to stop sending detained migrants to a mega prison in El Salvador, you personally made the final call to continue the flights anyway. Is that correct? Do you acknowledge that?
You know, we have court filings going on and decisions that are going forward. I'll let them continue to play through that process.
But did you make that
I'm
call?
proud of President Trump and his leadership and the decisions that we have made. And the decisions that are made on deportations, where flights go and when they go, are my decision at the Department of Homeland Security. And we will continue to do the right thing and ensure that dangerous criminals are removed.
So that you're saying that it was your decision. It sounds like the judge wanted to ensure that people were given due process. He said very clearly, quote, any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States, but those people need to be returned to the United States. However that's accomplished, I leave to you. But this is something that you need to make sure is complied with immediately. Did you defy the court's order, Madam Secretary?
No, Kristen, and that's one of the things that we continue to face across this country is activist judges who are using radical decisions that have no standing and no grounds to try to stop what President Trump is doing to protect America and to keep us safe. So we'll continue to do the right thing, continue to work and protect Americans, no matter what radical judge comes out and tries to stop us. We'll do the right thing and know that we're on the side of the law, the side of the Constitution, and the side of the American people.
Now, once again, the very first question on that one, she dodged that question, but if you noticed, it wasn't a real question. Absolutely. It was a convoluted mess that is just completely confusing. She mentioned something about continuing the flights anyway. Well, hang on. No, that's not how that happened. The two flights took off. Then the judge's order came down the pipeline, and all the flights after that judge's order came down the pipeline stopped. Now, you heard the judge's order. They need to be returned. Well, hang on just a second. The Supreme Court, as a matter of fact, said no. You don't have the authority to issue that type of order. That is an unlawful order. Right? We all remember this with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that the administration must help facilitate the return of this guy. Hang on just a second. Why is that such a convoluted order? To help facilitate. What does that mean? That means the Supreme Court even said in its opinion that they have no jurisdiction to order the administration to return any of those people that were deported to El Salvador. Ergo, that federal judge, the lower court judge, definitely does not have the authority to order those planes to turn around. Abso-freaking-lutely does not. That's why she said we did not violate any orders. Not in the least, and she is totally correct about that. But that doesn't stop the mainstream news from trying to spin it in a certain way, trying to phrase their questions in such a way to where any answer she gave, they could spin it in whatever direction they wanted to, manipulate the crap out of everything, and make you think that the Trump administration is violating court orders. They just take the law into their own hands and just do whatever the hell they want to do. Yeah, but that's not the truth, and we're going to give the context, and we're going to blow this whole thing apart. Which hopefully I did a thorough job of blowing apart. You guys let me know down in the comments section. I just find all this is insane, y'all. Why is the truth at war with the fact bringers? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why is that, folks? We must ask ourselves that question. Why are these people so insistent on manipulating the news, on portraying a narrative instead of bringing the facts. Right? Don't you think it would be more advantageous for them to just give you the facts? Right? Look, I understand that, you know, they want to sell news and they want to rage bait just about everybody. But come on, it's got to stop at some point, right? You can't just lie constantly and just expect to be credible. Like, and you wonder why the White House came out with that media bias tracker, for goodness sakes. It's a shame that they had to do that. And once again, even in the news article, unless you guys haven't seen that, go check that one out. It's my last video, by the way. The news article that was covering the media bias tracker was manipulated. They pulled out context. They didn't give you all the knowledge that you would need to know to form an opinion that was based in reality. They want to give you manipulated garbage. That's all they do. They want to try to manipulate something so they can get that rage going in your head so you can be mad about something. It doesn't even matter what you're mad about, right? Because, you know, take situations like the two National Guardsmen, or the two National Guard members that got shot in Washington, D.C. I have not found very many flaws at all with the Legacy News' reporting on that because, for one, that is a rage-inducing story. They've done a pretty good job on that one. Like anything of that nature, right? Anything that would, you know, naturally induce rage into you, make you mad about something, they're going to report truthfully. That's fascinating, don't you think? If you guys noticed that, let me know down in the comments section if you've noticed that. That's something I've noticed, but I read a lot of news, folks. Anytime you get anything else, though, it's always manipulated in some sort of way to make Republicans look evil and Democrats look like angels. It's always that. It's just so incessant, man, and it's so aggravating to watch these people get so many views and clicks and all this other nonsense. They don't deserve any of it, folks. They absolutely don't deserve it because, once again, they're just portraying a narrative and they are ripping this country apart. I think the corporate news, the legacy media, is the sole part of, you know, it's the sole corrupt bit, the cancerous tumor of this nation. It absolutely is, because that's the bifurcation in this country. People that appeal to authority and just buy into the corporate press narrative, and people that are skeptical of this and want to fact check the news and actually search for and seek out the truth. And by the way, my boy Bear Jags, he will find the truth. He's searching, overturning every single rock. I forget how it goes. But anyway, we search for the truth just on a daily basis, just incessantly, just going through, trying to find the truth, trying to dig out, turn over, whatever it may be, right? Turn over every single little rock, open every single little door, drive every single car out of the way so you can see what's underneath it, type of thing, just to find the truth. And that's a shame, folks, because we have this entire industrial complex, a media industrial complex that is supposed to be the fact bringers, the most trusted name in news. And they are the least credible people on the planet. That's insane. It really is. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. It blows my freaking mind on a daily basis. Even when reporting on a media bias tracker that they started, essentially, because the White House wouldn't have to make it if they didn't lie and manipulate the news. They're going to manipulate the news story talking about the media bias tracker. For crying out loud, it's insane. It really is. That one seriously blew my mind today when I was reading that news article. And then, I went to the White House, went and looked at their media bias tracker, and come to find out, they lied about it. It's retarded, if you ask me. But you guys let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. Don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'd love to have you on board, that's for sure. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click the join button, sign up, and become a member. And you know what, folks? I need to start getting certain passages from the Bible, because me just talking about salvation and, receiving the salvation and God has a plan for everybody, just kind of gets old, right? I need new material here. So I'm going to try to start getting some passages we can read out of the Bible every single day, just a little bit here and there, right there at the end of the video. So if you're interested in that type of thing, You know, you can stick around for that. Get your word of the day, the message of the day, whatever it may be. So we'll start doing that, y'all. But you guys, y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.